Igneous, thanks for joining us today. With me here from Cashtree, I have our Chief Crypto Officer, Bonnie, and my name is William Purdy, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer.
Hi, Igneous. Glad to meet you. Glad to connect with you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Igneous is the head of PR at the Mantle network, which is the network that Cashtree has proudly launched on. We've launched our Launchpad 3.0 on Bybit, which was powered by Mantle Network tokens as well as a USDT lottery system. We're really excited to have you here, Igneous. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Hey, Igneous, are you able to speak right now?
Yes. Just testing if you guys can hear me. Delighted to be here. Very happy to have this conversation with our friends at Cashtree.
Absolutely. As the head of PR, you're the perfect person to speak to here for learning more about what makes Mantle Network unique and hearing a little bit more about your roadmap. I guess let's just jump into it. Mantle Network is relatively new. You guys have been around for just a few months. It's probably been quite the exciting ride. Can you share a little bit more about the story behind the origin or the birth of Mantle Network and how it's evolved so far? When did you guys come up with this idea to launch this network, which has some unique features? And how long have you been working on it, and how has it been so far?
Thank you for the question, William. Yeah, as you said, Mantle's mainnet, Mantle Network's mainnet has been online for a little more than 2 months. We already have more than 90 million in total value locked and around 100 dApps in the ecosystem. We are basically having almost like a new daily high transaction count every day, thanks to a very enthusiastic community, as well as the incentive program that we are running. So Mantle as an L2 was conceived as of about mid last year. So back when we have this decentralized autonomous organization by the name of BitDAO. It used to be the largest, one of the largest DAOs in the world, and was in position of one of the largest on-chain treasury. And if you discount native tokens, it is actually by far the single largest on-chain treasury in the world, thanks to its large ETH holding, almost 270,000 of them, and then hundreds of millions of stablecoin, whereas most on-chain treasuries, they hold their native token. So it basically acted more or less as an investment DAO for a little more than 2 years. And we were just at a juncture where we were seeing, bull run was already in its ebb, and we think bear market or like a temporary bear is perfect for building. And we just took a look at the market conditions in terms of the battle between L1s. All those alternative L1s want to be Ethereum killers. Ethereum has more or less won the battle. Basically, everyone else was more, in a way, either accelerated by VC money or had a lot of mercenary capital, mercenary users, even devs in the ecosystem. And once kind of like the narrative has played itself out, we can see, development resources, cash, interest, engagement, all coming back to Ethereum. But the issue still remains in the fact that, even though a lot of those L1s, alternative L1s, they kind of like, they focused on scalability instead of, trying to develop their own community first, but they did, find a pain point. That is, Ethereum itself does have the transaction throughput bottleneck. It does have a scalability issue. So how we are doing differently is we want to basically still address this issue, but be completely aligned with Ethereum on philosophy, on values, on everything. So the DAO proposal to kind of like start an L2 like this was submitted to the community late last year, and we also started working, basically assembled the team and started working. Testnet came online early January, 6 months of testnet. We launched our mainnet at ECC in Paris on July the 17th. So it's almost been exactly 2 months. And the growth so far has been just really gratifying. We are seeing a ton of interest, enthusiasm. We have been hitting all the main conferences. We've been talking to people online in Twitter spaces like this, on Telegram, on Discord chats, on Twitter. We really think, people have been more or less waiting for a solution like this. Not to say, there are not other L2s around, but I think our approach has really been, a breath of fresh air and been very enthusiastically received by the people who are watching us. So that is kind of like a little bit of long-winded origin story of Mantle.
That's really great. I was at Token 2049, and I was lucky enough to meet with some members of the Mantle team. And I know one thing that you guys wish you had is more time, because that line to speak with you guys was just absolutely unreal. We're lucky to have the privilege to have met with you guys face to face. We definitely see the enthusiasm there in real life, which I think is really great because we're dealing with digital products here.
Well, talking about enthusiasm, I can say that it's so amazing knowing that for a new network, which is just like recently, like let's say a couple of months, but the TVL is already like so high, right? In my opinion, it's a sign that there's still a lot of people being so confident about this space, about the Web3, about the blockchain, and it's a very, very fantastic news. And it's gonna bring us to the second question, Ignis. So I want to ask maybe something about like the partnership and collaborations about the Mantle. But again, before that, all right. Before that, maybe what sets Mantles apart from other blockchain networks? Because you say that from the battle of like layer ones, and then there are a lot of projects talking about like layer two. Like, what sets you apart?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, in a way, each of us have a different take on this. I'll kind of like go with a tripartite, three-part answer. So first of all, on the technology side, what we have taken is a very distinct approach. We have a modular architecture. So virtually every chain on the market is a monolithic chain. They combine execution, data availability, as well as consensus finality into the same layer, and every aspect of the blockchain kind of like functionality are competing for the same block space. And at the same time, whenever you want to sort of upgrade any, even just the smallest part of it, you need to basically do a hard fork and change all the code, simply because everything is together. Whereas for Mantle, we have taken a modular approach since the beginning. So for consensus execution, for consensus and finality, we use Ethereum. That's the gold standard of security, and has the largest liquidity backing it. And then for execution, it's executed on Mantle as a rollup built on top of Ethereum. For data availability, this is what a rollup, you need to publish data. You need to make sure data is still retrievable within the challenge period as optimistic rollup, that people can still look at the data and see if there has been wrongdoing, so on and so forth. So data availability is very important for layer 2, and we are working with the folks at EigenLayer. So we currently use an instance of EigenDA called Mantle DA. It's powered by EigenLayer EigenDA technology, and when EigenDA hits mainnet, we will move over. But as of now, Mantle DA is the state of the art when it comes to data availability, data publishing. Instead of using Ethereum mainnet, which has finite throughput bandwidths, and you're competing with everyone. You're competing with people who are minting NFT, people who are transacting stablecoin for data publishing, which we just think is not a good use of Ethereum's bandwidths. We move it off to its own module, which will be EigenDA in time, but as of now, it's Mantle DA, and the publishing cost just gets dramatically reduced. We are seeing some on testnet was up to 90%. Now it's on mainnet, it's about 70%. And the good thing about this is it's ultra scalable. So the more of such needs is there, the fees actually get amortized to become cheaper. Unlike in Ethereum, if you have, or like really any blockchain that has a finite throughput, the more transaction requirements you have, the more expensive it becomes. So we think this is, the key way to address the scalability issue, while at the same time ensuring that this, because we are working with EigenLayer, the leading restaking protocol built on Ethereum, it's ensuring security is still there. Because how EigenLayer works is that you can take your staked ETH at, say, Rocket Pool or Lido. Lido happens to be a partner as well. We just started working with them on. We deployed some of our treasury ETH to Lido, and then we're also working with them on other things. And Coinbase, ETH, whatever, you can restake those on EigenLayer, and then those dApps built on top of EigenLayer are renting on-demand security from these stakers. So in a way, you are not only backed by a vibrant, eclectic pool of Ethereum stakers. In our case, you're also backed by the entire market cap of MNT, the Mantle token itself. So this is the technology side. The philosophy, the kind of value side, we are 100% aligned with Ethereum. So, all the alt layer ones, they want to replace Ethereum. They want to find a niche on the side of Ethereum. They want to be Ethereum killer. We want to grow Ethereum. We think Ethereum has won the war, won the battle. It's not just kind of like, a battle in terms of money and territory. It is also a battle for minds and hearts. By far, the global developer community love Ethereum. You can look at how many people are building on Ethereum and how many people are building on other chains. It's clear cut. Ethereum is the place to go. And we want to be in every single way, in terms of philosophy, in terms of value, in terms of how we're building the community around us, how we are taking, decisions in terms of decentralization, in terms of, supporting the developers. We want to be as aligned with Ethereum as possible. And this is why we are actually one of the chains, when you go to the hackathons around the world, that is, we are the most popular EVM chain to build on, sometimes even more so than Ethereum, but a lot of times like just next to Ethereum. So this is the kind of like value side of things. And one extra thing, it kind of like is an unfair advantage we have perhaps over some of our peers, is that we didn't start off just as a chain. We start off with a vibrant ecosystem already. So Mantle absorbed the BitDAO community that kind of like incubated it. BitDAO originally already was one of the largest DAOs in the world, had one of the largest treasuries, invested in a number of really exciting, we believe to be cornerstones of Web3 future, such as Game 7, such as Hyperplay, such as EduDAO. So Game 7 is one of the leading gaming accelerators. Hyperplay is a great game launcher that is already catching so much attention and raised tens of millions of funds after the initial BitDAO effort. And then EduDAO is working with some of the world's leading institutions, higher education institutions such as Harvard, such as MIT, to bring blockchain education to the campus, but also to take fresh research from the campus to work in real life settings. So our connection with EigenLayer, the EigenLayer team, was actually through EduDAO when we first got to know them. So I think these kind of like three different aspects of it really kind of like came together in this really brilliant package that allows us to really differentiate and find forge a different path than some others might have taken.
All right, that's amazing. That's very, very amazing. There's something that I want to emphasize here, because the fact that to be able to, let's say about like scalability, obviously. The thing is, all the Web3 projects, we have this, we can say maybe some constraints to have our project or to the network to be scale up so big in terms of like competing with the Web2, because everything must go like smoothly, seamlessly, and of course it's gonna also affected by the cost. And it's amazing to know that in Mantle network, the transaction fee is so cheap, like it's like literally just how to say, it's almost nothing, right? And it's very good for the business or for the project to develop the project itself. So in relation with that, especially about the scalability, I want to talk about the partnership and also the collaboration. The first question is about how does Mantle Network view the importance of partnerships in shaping the future of like DeFi?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think the people who we choose to work with, partners, allies, collaborators. This is kind of like the bread butter of this business. Even if you have the best tech, even if you have if you only have one thing, at the end of the day, everyone else, so long as they're marginally better, but if they are supported by amazing partners who you don't have, then it's not going to work very well for you. I think in a way we take more or less as we're here to build a platform to enable the killer apps to be built. So let's look at kind of one of the most popular consumer items, the iPhone, right? It's a consumer product. You need to kind of it's a hardware that you buy. But when we think back on the first iPhone, it wasn't doing something kind of like revolutionary in a way that you couldn't do it before without it, right? You could use the first iPhone to send messages, send emails, take photos, take notes. All these things we could do before. But what it does allow is it's so supportive of the developer community. It built this amazing platform that's so smooth to use, so easy to interact with, and so favored by a community that developers came and built all these great killer apps. So now you have you can hail rides, you can buy stuff on e-commerce sites, and you can watch video streaming on demand. All these are not built by Apple by itself, but rather when you are a ecosystem who is able to assemble this group of like-minded or brilliant builders, then even if you don't have arguably the best hardware, in which case you can probably argue that Samsung maybe have better hardware than Apple. Maybe there are parts of other ecosystem that work better, but the key is that you create enough of a centrifugal force that the most brilliant builders, the most active community revolves around you, which we think in a way is the height that we aspire to. We obviously are making huge breakthroughs in terms of technology, in terms of everything else we do, but we really think what will actually make us go from we're already on the way, but would make us go from 0 to 1 is in the people, builders, brilliant minds that we are fortunate enough to call partners.
All right. The second question is about, can you describe a memorable moment or breakthrough that arose from a recent collaboration of yours? Because one very interesting point that you said earlier is about Mantle Network is going to be the place where, let's say, quote unquote, Ethereum Killers project is going to be rebirthed in this network. So we want to know about this.
Yeah, so I think in a way, it's just kind of we now at a stage, it feels like we're already in hyper growth, but I think in 6 months' time we'll look back and think it was actually slow. The thing is that when we first started with testnet, it does feel like there's a lot of iteration to do. There's a lot of debugging, and the building, the community building, a vibrant ecosystem around it, trying to convince people to move over to a testnet is hard. But ever since we got to mainnet and came out with a ban with ECC, and then now we were the single largest booth at Token 2049 that just wrapped up. It does feel like now we're in a completely different gear. Things are just moving a lot faster. It used to be kind of we're chasing. Crypto is a lot about narrative. We feel like 6 months ago we're chasing narratives from 6 months ago, but now it's we just announced a fantastic collaboration with Lido, wherein we put 40,000 ETH, a huge sum of money, into Lido, and then we got staked ETH back, and then we're building our own LSD product that is Mantle LSD, and it will probably come sooner than everyone expect. Not even 3 weeks later, we're talking about last week we announced we are having a collaboration with Ando to offer real world asset through their USDY to our community, it will be a yield-bearing real-world asset that is U.S. Treasury bills, and it acts as stablecoin. But unlike, say, in the case of Tether buys those Treasury bills, it issues stablecoins, and then Tether earns the yield from the Treasury bills itself. In the case of this USDY, the yield is accrued for the holders. So now it's like, it does feel, in a way, echoing what you said, if we are just building on our own without partners, it takes much longer. It takes a lot of wayfinding, sometimes iteration upon iteration. But when you're working with established partners and they have enough confidence in us because they've seen what we can do, things just move so much faster. It does feel like we are at a Cambrian explosion. But I'm sure, like, in 6 months' time, we will look back to this time and think, what a quiet, bucolic time to fondly look back upon.
Interesting. Ignatius, I want to ask something. Yeah, you said something about like the LSD. We know that the development of like the LSD and also the adoption of the LSD is being a pretty big hype in crypto space, especially for like since last year, I believe. Since like there's like stake ETH and then there's like Matic X, stake Matic, and so on. So the question about this LSD product is, will the Mantle token gonna have this product soon, or maybe you can maybe like giving I don't know, maybe like spoilers about this?
Yeah, we will have them very soon. We already so, like, one thing about Mantle that's truly refreshing that I haven't seen in much of the rest of the be it L2 space or really just kind of the entire crypto space is that so a lot of times you have DAO and then they vote on things kind of like are quite technical, whereas we actually put every development decision into DAOs. So Mantle LSD was actually submitted to the community for a vote, and it was approved by the Mantle community. And our work with Lido, as well as some of the recent kind of like liquidity provisions. So a while ago, the community first approved a 200 million eco fund for dApps building on Mantle, and then last week it approved another 160 million of liquidity provision for dApps, and then another 60 million is just the first tranche for real world asset, and immediately we had Ondo. So we know, like, just LSD is coming because the team has already been building it, and just because we don't have an exact date yet, I can't say when, but one thing is I can say is it's actually going to come so soon that probably some people haven't, like, those of us who are listening to this in real time heard it like, oh, it's coming, but some people who are doing playback, maybe it's already out.
I see. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Looking forward, man.
Well, I think what's interesting that a narrative that you've continued to drive home for the call over the past 26 minutes is kind of the evolution and the continuous growth that Mantle's pushing forward with. You guys, again, a new chain, but it sounds like the partnerships that you're bringing out are making real world impact that you don't see from other layer twos. My question kind of relates to some of the technical aspects and features of the chain, a little bit more of a deeper dive. You've touched on this kind of briefly before, but in terms of things like scalability, security, and speed, which of course are very important for any blockchain, whether it be layer 1 or layer 2, how do you guys really plan to stay competitive in this rapidly evolving space? You guys are new, but who you'll be in 2 years is not who you are today. Do you guys have an internal narrative or a mission or a vision to keep you guys competitive so that, when other L2s spin up or other L1s spin up, which inevitably they will, and they're spinning up every day, how do you guys really plan to compete? I know that the large DAO treasury is a major function of your forward success. Having a lot of money to back you guys is very important. Making sure you can continue to invest in research and development. But internally, how do you guys see yourself staying successful and continuing this drive to stay not only relevant, but to stay on the top of an ever-changing technology, which is just blockchain technology?
Thank you, William. That is a fantastic and really well thought question. I think, uh, yeah, indeed. Like we've already touched a little upon this, and I'll kind of expound upon it a little bit. So the whole idea of a modular architecture is really something that we kind of like thought will enable us to uh, kind of really get ahead of the game, even though we are relatively a latecomer if you look at kind of like at the current snapshot. So I think by this time next year, when we potentially have 2000 L2s, like Mantle will be considered one of the early ones. But if we consider kind of like at current time, you have the first generation of Optimism, Arbitrum, you have Starknet, you have ZK Sync, and in kind of like our cohort in our class, you have linear base scroll just said they're launching their mainnet soon. So one thing that we're doing different than any of these is that our chain is modular, which means we are just so much more agile. And we think in a way we can be the testing ground, the sandbox for innovations before they can be deployed on Ethereum. So in a way, Ethereum kind of like it already moves a lot faster than say Bitcoin. Bitcoin like 4 years all it had was Taproot. Ethereum moves a lot faster, but because it's a monolithic chain, because there's so many kind of like interested parties, it takes months to kind of like plan for a hard fork and upgrade. But when you actually look at kind of like the discussion boards, the EIPs, the developers, they are looking at so many interesting bleeding edge innovations, but typically it takes sometimes 18 months, sometimes even longer. Sometimes when it's technically feasible, it's faster. But take them so long to actually deploy, implement it on Ethereum, and one of the testnet that Ethereum was supposed to have, it failed to launch yesterday, Hosky. So in a way is that because we have this modular approach, we don't have to change the entire network. We don't have to change the entire tech stack to test out those innovations. One analogy that I really like, I often like to throw out is like Ethereum, Solana, and those monolithic chains. They are like Hokusai's beautiful wood block printing. They look great. Like I'm a huge fan of Hokusai, but in order to change the tiniest bit, you need to carve a new wood block. Whereas for us, we are like movable type Gutenberg Bible. We can rearrange the letters, and then we can print something else. We can print Plato's Republic. We can print Machiavelli's The Prince, whatever. So it allows us a lot more agility, and we're able to basically test out innovation before it actually hits Ethereum. And this is true for basically everyone else. And another thing is that I think one thing that's truly refreshing in layer 2 as compared to a lot of the alt layer ones is that everyone is actually working together. So we're working closely with Optimism. Optimism, they provided tech stack to the likes of Base and Zora, and to us actually. And we're also working with the leading ZK chains such as Polygon EVM, ZK EVM. We're working with Scroll. We're working with ZK Sync to see who has the best ZK technology. And then we actually had this discussion in our community that when there's actually a viable mass market ready ZK solution, we may move from optimistic rollup to ZK rollup. But this is the ability that we kind of like, thanks to our modular architecture, allows us to do. We can be so agile to work with everyone, and we don't actually need to have all the answers. We just need to be partnered with the people who have the answers and be an early adopter, which our setup enables us to do. So I think this is really kind of like something that will ensure that we are always on the bleeding edge throughout time, because we can move faster than those who came before us and those who come after us.
That's really fascinating. And I guess I just kind of have a follow-up question, because I think what I really appreciate about your answer is that you're well aware that this is a hyper-competitive space and that it's important to be modular and flexible for the evolution of your blockchain. Moving fast and being dynamic is important. Obviously, from a development point of view, things will break during that time in which they need to be fixed. But My question is kind of, how do you find yourself in the future differentiating yourself or fitting into the bigger picture of maybe Ethereum 2.0? And I don't know if you want to say the war of layer twos, but the vast array or the wide spectrum of layer twos that exist. Like you said, you have your OGs, and then you have new ones that will come out in the future. Where do you guys kind of see yourself securing the most turf in this rapidly growing and super diverse spectrum of layer twos? And also, like I mentioned, with Ethereum 2.0 eventually coming out, whenever that does, how do you guys see yourself fitting into this bigger picture?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. So ETH has been on its kind of like move to the five rhyming: the merge, the purge, the verge, and the splurge, and there's another one. So the merge was completed. Now it's POS, and then they're currently work on the other ones. One of the upcoming truly exciting aspect is the proto dank sharding, where you actually have will kind of like be the first step when Ethereum starts to have more throughput and scalability. And as I alluded to before, we are 100% aligned with Ethereum on those values. We are trying to help kind of like amplify that. So sometimes people say, oh, Ethereum is going to have dank sharding. Why do we even need roll up? But even with dank sharding, even with sharding, the increase of throughput is still limited. It's still finite. And then when you actually truly envision Ethereum to be the world computer, it's still not enough. But whereas what we are actually offering is a factor, and then that factor is not just added to dank sharding; it's actually multiplied. So 20 plus 30 is just 50, but 20 times 30 is 600. So what we are trying to do is be something like that. We are truly going to be able to be a multiplier and to help. And it's not only kind of in the throughput side. Also, I talked about like we are going to be the testing ground for Ethereum's for the innovations before they can have their date scheduled for Ethereum mainnet deployment, because that's such a long kind of planning process, and then it's already a very busy calendar. And in a way, we actually really like the fact that there are so many layer twos propping up. So because again, we don't pretend that we have all the answers. We actually love to see people taking different paths, and we are working with so many of them to constantly improve and learn from everyone, absorb the best part, and to kind of like present it within our layout. And another thing is like, even when someone is doing something exactly the same with us, it's actually great social proof. So one thing that came out around the time of ECC is that which it was originally it's currently still a alternative layer one called CELO, CELO. They announced they're going to become a Ethereum L2 rollup. And when you look at kind of like the proposal, they put it to the community. It's almost identical to what Mantle is doing. It's also a modular kind of like Ethereum taking care of consensus, finality itself takes care of execution, and then it talks about data availability layer enabled by EigenDA, and mentions about sequence and everything. It looks like it's kind of like a summary of our tech doc. So in a way, it's hugely gratifying, but also just like really good to see something like that when you have another blockchain moving into our almost exact direction. It's social proof. It's a sign that we're doing something right, and we really think maybe in a few months' time there'll be more. But as I said, like we have achieved what we have achieved so far, and we will continue to do that, not just because of our technological design, but also because we are value and philosophy aligned with Ethereum. Also because we have a vibrant ecosystem, the benefit of all our partners, the benefit of a large treasury at our back. So when you combine the three, it's almost a unique combination that no one else can emulate. Whereas any aspect of it, we are actually very happy for others to either, do what we have done or do something different, and then, we can learn from it.
So fascinating seeing and also getting to know that Mantle vision and also all the creativity and also all the innovation that you guys have developed so far. Also, it's very important, as you say, to be a multiplier of Ethereum in this case, because at the end of the day, when the days arrive, especially we are talking about like the crypto adoption, like mass adoption in the whole world, obviously it's gonna be so much needed, right? Because we want to see the space to keep growing, to keep developing, and hopefully that everyone's in the world, especially well, not only us in the space, but everyone's can join the space. So it's so fascinating. And you've mentioned before about like, let's say, the features or the innovations that you guys develop. You guys like a modular chain, and then also about the it's gonna helping us about the scalability, security, and also the speed. You also mentioned that you kind of like the how to say, not, I mean, like, you envision yourself that you gonna be the multiplier of like Ethereum. So there's a lot of interesting features in your product and in your network, but the question is, what's like the most innovative features of Mantle network that you believe hasn't gotten an attention it truly deserves then?
In a way, it's kind of like it's a difficult question to answer because I think like different slices of segments kind of like notice different things. So we actually talk to developers a lot. Our DevRel team flying around the world each week. It seems they're in a different city. So that's why kind of like Mantle is one of the chains that have the best developer support in the world, and we also are at conferences like Token 2049, where there are maybe like fewer developers, but a lot of like VCs, liquidity providers, LPs looking to invest in things. And then, you have just kind of like very different people working on different things and noticing different things. I think in a way is that we haven't, maybe it's kind of like some fault of our own. We haven't found a unifying kind of like a theory to bring everything into one package. That could also just be kind of like how we're designed modularly. So different people notice different things, and then they work with that aspect. A lot of times, because like we work with, we have a decentralized team. We have more than 100 people around the world, and we all work different time zones. So a lot of times, kind of like it does feel like people only notice this part and not that part. I don't think there's like anything that is like universally or like across the board just like not giving enough attention. But perhaps we want developers to see more of the great incentive program that we're running, that is engaging so much attention from the community. And then we want the community to look more into kind of like interesting technology on the horizon they can look forward to, such as a wider rollout of a abstraction, such as you can have a paymaster to pay for kind of like your gas fees, which makes kind of like the onboarding of new users just fantastically easy, because it will be basically the identical experience as Web 2. And only after they have sort of like gotten used to it do you slowly start to kind of like introduce the gas fee idea. And this is something you're able to do with the paymaster function in account abstraction, so on and so forth. So yeah, it really is like, maybe I think because it's still in the early days, people are only kind of like touching and having interface with a segment of either our technology, of our user interface, or our team. We really look forward to a time where people are able to see the entirety of our effort brought to bear. And we really think when a larger plurality of people are able to do that, they will just be so even more excited about what we are able to deliver.
I know that here at Cashtree, one of the things we're most excited for Mantle to bring forward is the account abstraction. We think that's going to be very helpful for onboarding a lot of our traditional Web 2 users into an interface that's not overly complicated or just complex when you compare it to that of using something like MetaMask. To the point of what you just said, a blockchain or Mantle network is really a protocol, and a person only needs to know of kind of the basic features or unique use cases that are most beneficial to them. They don't need to know everything that's going on behind the scenes, whether it be technical or functional. Something I wanted to ask as we kind of close out the technical portion of this AMA is about security and privacy. They are, the ethos of blockchain, of Bitcoin, and so many other things that we discuss in this space, Web3, security and privacy are incredibly paramount. They're two values that people will not flex on. They require them. Can you kind of share maybe a story or an instance within Mantle Network or your development team there where maybe you've prioritized those values, or what was learned from these important ethos? I'm curious how Mantle Network views the importance of security and privacy, and if there's any real world examples or any anecdotes you can tell us about.
Yeah, thanks, William. That is a fantastic question, and I think you really hit the nail on its head there. Like this, security is paramount. If you don't have it, you don't have anything, right? Like, so each month we see a major breach, either through a DeFi protocol or a centralized betting kind of like platform. So I think it's telegraphed early on in kind of like when we started to build Mantle. The whole point is that we want to be as secure, almost as secure as Ethereum. So that is why we just come out and say we want to be aligned with Ethereum. A lot of like alternative layer ones, they say, oh, they're trying to address the scalability problem, and they build their own chain which doesn't use Ethereum for consensus. Then you're working with a smaller pool of capital. Then you are not using the best security there is. So early on, it was not there was not any doubt that the security is going to be inherited, is going to be secured by Ethereum. And how we're able to do that is through a modular rollup, and then how we still are able to save on kind of like transaction cost, especially vis-a-vis other layer twos, is that we work with eigenlayers, EigenD8 protocol, which allows all Ethereum stakers to restake on that protocol, which means the security is the same pool as Ethereum staker. So it is the largest security machine in the world. The whole design kind of like ethos really seeps into everything we do. When we kind of like work with new projects through kind of like the BD process, the legal process, the finance process, everything we do it at the highest level, and we always encourage our partners to use the best auditors. We have the best, and those are all published online. And we always make sure that we address whatever potential vulnerability found as soon as possible. And we also, run multiple test nets. We take, a very long and studious look at how things are going on testnet before moving on mainnet. That is one of the reasons kind of like we did feel at the start when we first started with the testnet process, it did feel like it's taking a little long, and sometimes we are a little late when it comes to the timelines we set for ourselves. But I think when you build things on a solid foundation, when you build things so carefully, and you kind of like make that a habit, we are now at a point when we are already starting to reap the benefit. So one thing, kind of like a personal anecdote, not necessarily related to security, but kind of like as an analogy, is that I recently had a baby girl, and I'm using the carrier to kind of bring her everywhere. So, you kind of like the body is already adjusting to a heavier weight than I am normally. And when I'm not carrying her, I walk so much faster. I think in a way we are doing that. We are putting kind of like almost ourselves through not necessarily punishing, but kind of like a really high standards when it comes to anything. But then once we get used to it, once we are, at a stage where because of all the social proof, because of all the crossover DD, we're able to feel less of that pressure. We will actually just be able to operate so smoothly without and basically use those muscles we developed when we were treading a little more lightly and more gingerly. Yeah, sorry, that was a little long-winded, but this is how we've been approaching it.
Wow. Before we go on, first of all, congratulations, Ignis. It's so beautiful to hear that a new girl has come to the world, into your family. So beautiful. And also, thanks so much for the personal touch. It's really nice. So I want to know about the community and also the developers in the side. So how does Mental Network plan to incentivize and also support all the developers and also builders and the projects within the Mental Network ecosystem?
Yeah, thank you for the well wishes, and thank you for the fantastic question. I think our action actually speaks for itself and speaks really loudly. In a way, like Mentor is actually by far better known in the developer community than general public, which we think is actually a design, not a bug at all. We're of course doing our fair share of great marketing, but in a way we still see ourselves as infrastructure provider, because at the end of the day, what it takes is for fantastic apps such as itself, and then other people who are working with to create a killer app that interface directly with the general public. In a way, we are kind of like the infrastructure. We are like we're electricity provider, broadband provider, so on and so forth. So that is why we have from day one put a critical kind of like amount of energy on developers. As I said, our DevRel team and our just kind of like developer advocates. They really are just tireless. They nominally based in like Montreal, New York. They probably spend like 4 days at home, 26 days on the road, flying to different hackathons, working with developers, mentoring them, like chugging down Red Bulls with them 48 hours non-sleep to compete for the hackathon prize, so on and so forth. And this is like we're actually meeting people face to face. We're actually giving them tools to build in real life, but also we have by far the largest kind of like pool of resources and capital behind our ecosystem. So we have one of the largest and most vibrant grants program in the sector. Currently, it's in cohort 3. Dozens of dApps either deployed currently on mainnet or testnet. They've already received grants, and our grants are really our grants. The size of them are pretty nice to say the least. But at the same time, it's not just that. We're actually helping people hand in hand. We help them to set milestones, and then the grant is a milestone based process as well. So the more milestones they hit, they're able to access more capital, which really ensures that we're aligning everyone's interest in one goal. So like when we're working with people, when we're working with project teams, when we are interfacing with our community, one thing that we make sure is that we are never in an antagonistic relationship. Every time we design little nooks and crannies, little valves and dials to make sure that everyone is heading into and benefiting from the same result. So in addition to the really generous grants program, we have by far the largest ecosystem fund that is currently deploying, and we just announced 3 deployments last Friday. So it's a capitalized it's a catalyzed capital pool of 200 million. 100 million came out of the Mantle Treasury. 100 million is matched by external venture partners, the like of Pantera, Dragonfly, Hashed, Hashkey, Wampa, and Spartan, so on and so forth. We have more than 200. We have more than 20 external venture partners. They're VCs with whom we work. We have worked very closely, and they bring just like so much expertise across the entire sector of blockchain and beyond. And we are fortunate enough to work with them on almost every single deal. And this really just ensures that whoever's receiving that venture fund, that eco fund money, they will not only get like probably more allocation than they could get from other VCs. They will also have the best cheerleader, mentor, and supporter along the way because of our wide network. Because of it's kind of like a network effect when we have other portfolio company already under their VCs and they're able to make the introduction. Just makes the cross-pollination a lot easier. And then we actually, on top of these two incredibly generous capital pools and resource support, we have a third that was just announced, that was just approved last week. That is another 160 million of liquidity provision to DEXs and other dApps built on Mantle. So, it really is just kind of like, it raises all the bootstrapping concerns. It just makes, someone who is able to build a great dApp, we can make it work and fly on day one.
I love that approach is not just that throwing money at a problem or at development will make it work, but it's the hand in hand, the grind time that will get it across the delivery line. And I think that's something that says a lot about kind of where your developers, where your venture capitalists, where your DAO treasury team has their priorities aligned. It's in the sweat equity and not just the capital. You guys certainly are blessed to have the large treasury, but that you understand that there's a multitude of things that make development and application deployment successful. That's fantastic. We're coming to an end here. We've just got a few more questions for you as we approach the end of the hour. Got two more questions. You're clearly very passionate as the head of PR for a multitude of reasons. It's not just because you're paid to do this, but it sounds like you're passionate about the change and the impact that Mantle Network has on the ecosystem, which is great to hear. Can you describe maybe an upcoming feature or innovation that to you really excites you? Something that, it's not a PR thing. It's something that at the end of the day, when you're reflecting on the success of Mantle, whether it be now or in a few months, or even, at the end of next year, what's like the one thing that you're most excited about with Mantle Network?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. In a way, it's kind of like, picking who your favorite child is. But I think, given we're not talking to a bunch of devs, we're talking to, people tuning in on Twitter Spaces and people who will actually be interacting with, hopefully, Mantle Network as well as Cashtree and a whole host of other exciting dApps built on Mantle. I think I'll talk about kind of like the unique incentive program that we currently have. So we are currently in season alpha of Mantle Journey. So this is we really looked far and wide of how everyone else does incentive program, airdrop, and so on and so forth. And we really think we kind of found a way to make sure that, as I said, everyone's incentive is aligned. So a lot of times you see others, they would like have, an airdrop and then, you have people who want to sell and then you kind of becomes the antagonist. What we have is similar to airplane miles, but of course we could make it more interesting is that every time you interact with Mantle Network, with the ecosystem, with the blockchain, as well as with the dApps that are built around it and built on it, you accrue miles. And we actually encouraging, dApps built on us to have, different interactions built in. And then we have these, once they've worked with us, we list them as verified protocols, and then we give preferential treatment. These actions get more miles. So in a way, developers are incentivized to work with us to provide those to users who are incentivized to perform these actions to receive benefit. And because of all the building and all the interaction, we are able to bring more value and bring more engagement, bring more action, bring shed more light on different aspects of our technology to people. So in a way, we really think we kind of like figure out a way to almost like a three-body problem. So like if it's just a push and pull of one planet and one moon, maybe the gravity is easy to calculate, whereas we actually have three kind of like largely distinct group of people, but we are somehow able to have this incentive program where everyone is excited, everyone is working toward the same goal, that is to build more interactions on chain that will encourage people to use it and then to use it more. And for us, we are giving out 20 million Mantle just for season alpha, and every season after that will have different epochs. We'll have a similar amount of prize pool. So all people need to do is they need to mint a soulbound token on Mantle. It's supremely easy. You can just go to Mantle Journey and you can just mint it there, and they can as soon as they do that, they start to accrue miles, Mantle Journey miles to their profile, and then they stand to win a share of the airdrop, but also just kind of able to test out different aspects and find the things that they like. We are also at the same time launching a great NFT series that is the first Mantle native and NFT series called Citizens of Mantle. It's through the collaboration with a fabulously talented and internationally renowned visual artist called Chen Man. So she photographs celebrities like Benedict Cumberbatch, Rihanna. She photographed Michelle Yeoh before her Oscar win, and she's supremely talented. You can follow her on Instagram. She had like 1.5 million followers, but she is also very talented when it comes to graphic design. And then she created this entire Mantle Citizens of Mantle NFT for us after hearing us talking about the modular aspect of it. So really just encourage everyone to give it a try. Like Mantle's L2 fees are so low, it basically there's almost very little cost involved, but we just really think that we made it in a way that you will have so much fun and really make sure that everyone is all incentived in the same way. Everyone's incentive is aligned, and we won't have kind of like antagonistic game theory issues other blockchains have had.
That does sound exciting, and I appreciate you telling our listeners today kind of what to do, where to find you guys. One final question as we're wrapping this up, and I really appreciate your time today. It was fascinating hearing your insight and your enthusiasm for the space. Looking forward on the horizon for Mantle Network, 2024 and beyond, what's the dream scenario for Mantle? What's the biggest milestone that you guys are aspiring towards? Is it disrupting the Ethereum layer 2 space? Is it the tokenization of real world assets? Is it bringing the Web 2 world into Web 3? What's really the dream? And, dreams can be larger than life sometimes, not necessarily super achievable. They can take time to achieve. Sometimes we achieve them, sometimes we don't. But what is the large overhanging thing that everyone at Mantle is aligned to have as the key milestone or dream scenario?
Yeah, I love that question. Thank you, William. And there are so many things we're doing, so many things we want to do, LSD, WA, just to name it. But I think coming back to, the initial intention of Mantle, I think, this may sound a little small, but when you actually look at it, it's actually huge, is that we want to grow, we want to help Ethereum to grow into, the world computer it was promised to be. We really just we are so aligned with Ethereum. We are here to address the small imperfections in Ethereum that we think is otherwise just fit for the title, the appellation of world computer, and to bring about kind of true mass adoption of tokenized technology, true mass adoption of Web3 technology, we firmly believe it will be through Ethereum. And our goal is actually not necessarily, Mantle needs to do this, Mantle needs to do that. We want help. We want to be a part of the solution for Ethereum to achieve that. And, lest it sound too altruistic, if we're able to do that, when Ethereum's pie is so big, we don't even need that much market share. Like, just as one of the leading L2 roll-up solutions built on Ethereum, we will already have all our growth targets taken care of. So our biggest dream, biggest ambition is to actually help Ethereum achieve its declared goal.
That's a beautiful answer. And to hear how symbiotic you plan to be, or Mantle plans to be with Ethereum, knowing that the truth of the matter is Ethereum's not going anywhere, will stay as the number 2 token, which is, I think, a very appropriate reality to understand in this space. Hearing how you guys plan to leverage that and help it grow even further instead of compete, I think is just incredibly smart. I really appreciate your time today, Igneous. It was fantastic learning more about Cashtree, learning more about Mantle Network and how maybe Cashtree can leverage Mantle Network in the future, whether it be account abstraction or the grant program. Really appreciate your time, the partnership that we've had with Mantle and many of the partners that are listening in today. It has been absolutely fantastic. It's a small ecosystem. I like to consider ourselves a family, but I know that the best is yet to come. It's a very small family now, but I know that it'll grow, just like yours, Igneous. Congratulations on the newborn. Where can people find you and learn more about Mantle Network? And I'll let you close out with any thoughts that you have.
Thank you so much, William. It was fantastic to be here, and really glad to be able to share, some of the musings that I had with the Cashtree community, and it's been a really rewarding partnership so far. Some of our team members had lunch with Cashtree, and then you folks came to our booth, and I think we'll do a lot more of that going forward. As for where people can find us, it's Mantle is supremely active on social media, so you can find us on Twitter, X, 0x Mantle. We are on Telegram, we are on Discord, both having more than 200,000, I think now maybe even 300,000 folks in those channels. We are on basically like the other social media, the other sites like YouTube as well. But I think Twitter or now X, Discord, and Telegram are the best places. And I'm just at Cashtrians on X/Twitter. Really looking forward to having deep or shallow conversations with everyone. If you have any suggestions, any comments, anything that ails you, anything that you want like an answer for, feel free just to send requests and send suggestions our way. We'll do our best to address it. Just finally just want to say really appreciate the opportunity here. Really glad to have the opportunity to speak to the Cashtree community, and it's been fantastic fun. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Igneous, for your time. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining the space. So, we're going to meet again in the next Twitter Space session together with our partners. So, again, thank you very much, Mantle. Thank you very much, Igneous. So, everyone, you have a good one. Cheers.